Please rise. The Right Honourable the Lord Mayor. City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday the 12th of December 2023. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the council, including transferring outside Australia.
Good evening. Council acknowledges that we're meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pays respects to elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land. We acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today, and we also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations people who may be present with us. The Council also acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site of Adelaide and the design of the city with 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage, empathy, understanding and guidance in the decisions that we make while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. I now ask all present to stand in silence in memory of those who gave their lives in defence of their country, at sea, on land and in the air. May I also ask that you remain standing in accordance with the decision made at the last meeting that we hold a minute's silence for lives lost on South Australia's roads. In solidarity with all those who have endured the pain of losing loved ones on the roads this year, we call for minute's silence to honour the precious lives that have left an irreplaceable void in the hearts of their families and friends. I now ask you to remain in silence. Thank you, members. Please be seated. Can I record there are no apologies or leaves of absence this evening? I'm sorry? There is an absence, but not an apology. Can I just remind members that the Code of Practice for Meeting Procedures was amended on the 28th of November and ask you to switch off your telephones or turn them to silent or vibration mode during the council meeting. I think it would be prudent and perhaps courteous if members left the chamber in order to answer the telephone during the meeting. I'll remind you again about switching your phones off before the confidential items at the end of the meeting. Thank you. I would now ask if someone would move confirmation of the minutes, item 7. There was an error in the printed version. The division as recorded was accurately recorded, but the names were in the wrong column and on the wrong line. So could I ask that someone move the confirmation of minutes subject to the amendment after Councillor Abrahimzadeh requesting a division? The numbers were correct, but the names were in the wrong order. Moved by the Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Noon. All those in favour? Was against? That's carried. Thank you, members. I'm now moving on to the declaration of conflicts of interest. Do we have any to record? No, we'll move on. Deputations. First deputation would be from Miss Jane Johnston, who will talk about Study Adelaide. Jane, would you come forward to the dais, please? To the lectern. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Just bend it down. So thank you for the opportunity to address the council members today. I'd like to start by introducing myself. I'm Jane Johnston, the Chief Executive of Study Adelaide. I'm joined here today by Sean Keenahan, who is the Chair of Study Adelaide, and I'm sure is well known to many of the councillors here in the room for his many roles in Adelaide. So Study Adelaide has 3 areas of focus: destination marketing, student engagement and industry advocacy. For 25 years, we have worked in partnership with education providers, local and state government, to build the profile of Adelaide internationally and to connect international students into our city, community and workplaces. 2023 has seen South Australia welcome over 51,000 international student enrolments from January to September, which eclipses our previous 12 months of 45,000 students, which was our previous record pre-pandemic. International education is the state's largest service export, which was valued at $1.8 billion in 2022 and is on its way to being the state's largest export. This achievement has been collaborative and speaks to the joint commitment to recover the sector from the impact of Australia's closed borders. The City of Adelaide's draft strategic plan 2024 to 28 shows that currently 45% of the city's residents are born overseas and 26% are studying at TAFE University. International students are an important part of this city's economic and social fabric. They will also continue to be an important enabler of the City of Adelaide's vision to grow its residents to 50,000 by 2036, increase visitor numbers, spend in the city, and be a vibrant, connected and inclusive community. Just as importantly, international students can play a key role in building Adelaide's economy, not only while they study, but their contribution to Adelaide's business skills and workforce needs. International students graduate with skills that Adelaide businesses are crying out for. This extends well beyond the hospitality and retail casual workforce. International students study engineering, health, IT, teaching and management, and they graduate ready with the knowledge and the work rights to enter the workplace. The economic impact of this for South Australia has been estimated at $1.16 billion for the 2023 graduating cohort alone, with much of this to be realised in the City of Adelaide. Study Adelaide will continue to work with the Council, AIDA and businesses to connect international students into these areas of skills needs. We are thankful for the sustained support from the City of Adelaide and its subsidiary AIDA. This includes the City of Adelaide supporting Study Adelaide's Job Shop. Job Shop is unique within Australia and it lists work opportunities specifically for international students, and there is a dedicated process for students to apply for these roles. The City of Adelaide lists roles available on the website, which is a powerful signal to students. International students are also invited to enjoy and join the many wellbeing opportunities that are offered by the City of Adelaide. Study Adelaide is also grateful for the support of AIDA, in particular the Strategic Partnerships Program, which supports our familiarisation tour, where we bring international education agents from around the world to spend a week in Adelaide, understanding the destination firsthand, meeting with businesses in Adelaide, also getting to see cultural events in Adelaide and, of course, shop here in our city. As we look forward to the establishment of Adelaide University and the planned growth in students at this new university, as well as established providers in other education sectors, and the aspirations of the Council to grow the number of students in the city to 50,000 by 2036, there is a need to further consider student housing and in the accommodation mix. Aligned with the focus on growing family living in the city, it's worth mentioning that the most popular area of study for international students at the moment is actually in the postgraduate fields. So there are many international students coming to Adelaide who are looking for amenities around family living in the city as well. International students have a natural tendency to live in the city, given their study location, and with over 130 nationalities currently studying in Adelaide, this can bring further diversity and multiculturalism. It also brings new business ideas and promotes Adelaide as a tourism destination to their friends and family who come to visit their students here. We're focused on working with the City of Adelaide, AIDA, Invest SA and others to ensure that investors understand the attractiveness of Adelaide as a student location in comparison to other cities. And Study Adelaide welcomes the opportunity to contribute to the draft housing strategy and participate in the Economic Development Roundtable this Thursday. Thank you.
Can I thank you, and also thank you for supporting the Penang Sister City visit. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask the next deputy to come forward, Liz Vines? Thank you. Vines will talk about the Adelaide Heritage Council, sorry, the Australian Heritage Council and the recent decision that was sent to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Council, for the opportunity. My name's Liz Vines. I'm a local architect. I live in Adelaide. I'm also a member of the Australian Heritage Council, which is the principal advisor to the Australian Government on heritage matters. This council assists with nominations on the list. There is currently 120 places, of which the Adelaide Parklands is one. It also importantly aims to assist with the protection of these heritage places. Now, Council will be aware of the two recent applications in the Adelaide Parklands and the decisions made on those applications. Our Council has reflected on these decisions, hence the opportunity now to discuss this, and I come to you having spoken to my Chair, Ted Baillieu, this afternoon and run through what it is that I'm going to say. Regarding the hospital decision, firstly, this was not a decision by the Australian Heritage Council. It was not a decision by the Minister. It was not a decision made on heritage grounds. There was no cultural heritage assessment as part of the assessment process. It was done on the Minister's delegate, by the Minister's delegate on legal grounds. It's not an endorsement by the federal government of this activity in the parklands. It is also not supported by Australia ICOMOS, which is also the main advisory body to the Minister about heritage matters. I'll quote our chair. The Australian Heritage Council is profoundly disappointed and strongly disagrees with the decision. The Council made a submission to the public process advising the proposal had very significant impacts on the heritage values of the Adelaide Parklands, and this was unacceptable. The outcome means, and this is a surprise to our Council, that the National Heritage Listing now officially provides no heritage protection to the Adelaide Parklands. What we do know in the decision is that the parklands are not the Great Barrier Reef. This is listed in the decision. It's not a nuclear facility. The Flying Fox is okay, and it's not a Ramsar wetland. There was no mention of any issues related to cultural heritage, nor to the impact on the significance of this place to the people of the City of Adelaide. Can I also add, I believe the decision makers did not visit the parklands. As you would know, the submissions closed on the 31st of October after only 10 days, massive amount of documentation, and a decision was made on the 15th of November. So the second application, I just want to clarify this for the Council, the second application around the Aquatic Centre. Now, this was self-assessed by the South Australian Government, you would know this. It was self-assessed by their heritage consultants. It was declared not a controlled action by this self-assessment. Now, the Federal Government and our Council does not know any details of that assessment or on what basis that decision was made. The Australian Heritage Council knew nothing about this. Nothing has been made public. This may be a surprise to you. It was a surprise, all of this, to our Council. It's a very complicated legal technicality under the EPBC Act, which is the Environmental Protection Act, but there is a gap in this protection related to state actions in National Heritage listed places. So what can be done about it? Our Council met about this. We spent half a day on it last week, and my reason for being here is that we don't want this issue of lack of protection for National Heritage listed places to go away, to not be addressed. Firstly, we want to advise the Minister about the gap in this legislation. It is to do with constitutional issues. It's Section 15B of the EPBC Act. It's taken me weeks to understand it. We want to advise the Minister technically there's this gap. We also want that self-assessments and all submissions are made public. There were 179 submissions made, of which we believe 168 were against the hospital development in relation to heritage impacts on the parklands. We want the framework, the Minister to recommit to an effective National Heritage Listing framework. We also have requested an audit of similar state-owned National Heritage listed properties so that we are forewarned when this happens again. In other words, that the state agency is the applicant. There are areas in the EPBC Act where the referral is considered on heritage grounds, but not for cultural heritage. We want the rewrite of the EPBC Act, currently undertaken, to address this.
An extension is the swap vote. Yes, please carry on.
Is that okay? I don't have much more to say. We want the changes, that there are changes to an approved development, any approved development, to actually get assessed. We were told by staff that in relation to National Heritage Listing Protection, either of these applications could be doubled in size without any referral back again. And we also sought comprehensive legal advice, which we got after the event, and also for 15 years this site has had no management plan. The drafting is now being done for this management plan, but again after the event. So I would close now, but I present this on behalf of the Chair of the Australian Heritage Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We're now moving on to the next item, which is number 13. Item 13, which is the Special City Finance and Governance Committee. We only have one item, which is the recommendation 1, which is item 5.1, the draft strategic plan. Could I ask for a mover? Moved by Councillor Lynn, seconded by Councillor Siebentrit. Is there any discussion? Do you wish to speak to it? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Lord Mayor, look, with your indulgence and the meeting's agreement, I'd like to propose a very small variation, and that is that at page 19 there be an editorial change. As previously discussed, the plan as it stands, I understand, says no net loss of heritage places and maintain a minimum of 1,850 places. And I would prefer, and I trust that my colleagues also would prefer, that we adopt a target of, quote, no loss of heritage places and develop a strategy to increase the 1,850 listed places. So that is, I am...
Advice about that it doesn't seem to be on the screen, and I'm just concerned about the nature of that. Can I have some advice?
Through the presiding member, the latest draft of the strategic plan is distributed to council members. Does at page 19 refer to no net loss? I think we can accommodate those editorial. So no loss rather than net loss. Yeah. So we can delete the word net to read no loss of local heritage places and consider options to increase.
I'd be very happy with that, Lord Mayor, and that would...
Could I just have an amendment then? Just the words of it. I'm sorry, I didn't quite grasp how to structure this. Can someone help me?
Lord Mayor, I think the administration is saying that the amendment that I seek, which is the loss of the word net, so we simply say in our strategic plan a target of no loss of heritage places and develop a strategy to increase the 1,850 or words to that effect can be accommodated as an editorial change in the Strat plan, and if that is the administration's undertaking, I'll resume my seat.
As I understand, we did discuss this matter in the committee, so we did mention this change. So can we just have the wording completed?
Through the presiding member, and if the Secretariat could assist, no loss of local heritage places and consider options to increase.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Look, I don't think that requires any explanation.
No.
It was discussed at length at committee, and I would ask members to support this minor but important amendment.
So could we just now vote on the amendment?
Can I just ask a question about this? What happens if council receives an application where, for whatever reason, a local heritage listed place needs to be demolished? What happens then? Does that mean that we won't take that application into account, or I'm just trying to grasp the mechanics of this sort of statement.
I think it's a target, not a mandate. Is that fair? I understand. Can I have some help, please?
Thank you, through the chair. We interpret that statement consistent with other such statements that council has to reflect a position of council, so that in the event we were asked to comment on an application that would seek the removal of a heritage place, that administration would prepare an advice that would say that council would not support that. If there happened to be legislative or other pathway frameworks that meant that decision was made by other parties, at the very least we would have put forward council's position that we prefer no loss of a local heritage place.
Just a follow-up question, Lord Mayor, if I may. So if we receive an engineer's report that says that there is potentially a hazard, will we still maintain that position?
I understood it to be a target, not a mandate.
Through the chair, correct, that's how we'd interpret.
And that's their advice as well. So if there's no summing up on the amendment, can I have the amendment put? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. That now becomes part of the motion. I now ask if the mover would like to discuss the motion. No? Summing up?
After reading it, the final draft, it was good to see that some of the language had changed, and as per our discussion in the committee. So I really thank administration for pursuing this and making the document a lot more clarifying. There were areas that need clarifying, and so thank you very much. And I think it's now a really good document for us. It will be our foundations moving forward for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Councillor Kouros.
Only to...
I'm sorry, I did ask Councillor Noon to sum up. I'm awfully sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I moved it rather ahead of myself, so I have to put that motion out. All those in favour? All those against? I apologise. We're moving on to item 14 now, and these are three parts. I'm open to taking them en bloc or separately.
Just
Councillor.
a declaration, Lord Mayor.
Conflict of interest?
Perceived conflict of interest. Pursuant to my declaration at the committee meeting on the 5th of December, I want to make the same declaration now for the purposes of transparency, that I'm the chair of Bike Adelaide, involved in advocacy for these kinds of projects, but there is no benefit derived from this decision tonight for Bike Adelaide or for myself, and as such I'll stay in the chamber for the discussion and the vote. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Can I ask if people would like... Councillor Kouros, would you like to move them en bloc or individually?
That, Lord Mayor, if I can move them en bloc.
En bloc, Councillor Kouros, seconded by Councillor Siebentrit. Would you like to discuss them? No? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. We will now move on to part 15. Item 15, and this is the climate change strategy, which has been amended significantly since the committee meeting. So you have now got a tabled copy of the updated version. There was a track change that came around a few days ago, and we're being asked to draft to endorse the draft and the engagement plan, and authorise the CEO to make minor technical amendments as are required if further typos are found. Moved by Councillor Siebentrit, seconded by Councillor Noon. The discussion. Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Siebentrit?
Yes, I would like to, Lord Mayor. Just briefly, as we sit here tonight whisking through various bundles of papers, I think it's worthwhile noting that on the other side of the world we have 70,000 people have come together at the Council of the Parties to discuss how we globally take action on climate change. So 70,000 people from around the world working out how we tackle one of the globe's most complex issues. But ultimately, that complex issue globally requires local action, and this is our attempt at our global action. I think it's a fantastic step forward. We outline here we've combined a number of strategies, which is a positive thing. It outlines how we're going to build resilience in the city and also how we're going to address emissions reduction. But I don't think any of us should be under the impression that this will be easy to do. This is hard. There are a number of difficult to achieve targets in here, and I can anticipate we'll have many debates around this in the years to come. That includes things like how we're going to hit our targets for increasing street trees across the city. That's something that comes up regularly, and yet we don't always come to grips with just how challenging that will be. We talk about the electrification of buildings. It's easy to say. It's going to be a real challenge on how we do that. We also talk about emissions reduction, another thing here for Council that we've committed to but will prove particularly challenging. So we shouldn't expect this will be easy. I think one of the key things as this goes out for consultation that I'll be looking for and an opportunity to receive feedback on is how we reframe the budget around this. At the moment, we've flagged, for example, there's only a 1% fund on climate action. I think ultimately there's a need to do more, and in this budget-constrained environment, we're going to need to really think hard around how we look at all the actions that Council undertakes and which of them can help us to take greater action on climate change. So I wanted to commend the Council on the great work they've done in pulling together this draft strategy and look forward to the feedback from the community.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, I had a slight amendment sent through, which was essentially adding a note about consultation. I'm happy for members to have a quick read, and once they've had a read, I stick a seconder. Or I'm happy for this to be taken as an alternate motion, if the mover is happy to take it on as a variation.
Seconder for that amendment. Councillor Davis, seconded. Can I just say, would it be possible for us just to have an explanation? I think the AHA was somewhat confused by the policy and that may have been because they weren't consulted. Could I just ask, is it Mr. Haridis, did you have an explanation as to the misunderstanding?
Thank you, and through the Chair, my recollection of this issue through committee was the points raised through councillors concerning a mandate on electrification as opposed to an intent to look to electrify buildings, and we're interpreting this. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, councillor, please carry on.
Lord Mayor, the reason why I bring this into the chamber is I just want to make sure that some of the commentary and feedback that I've received over the past week or so is addressed. So I've had a number of members from the business community. I've had a number of people from peak bodies that have approached me about this. And I guess just like every other council initiative or policy, we give our stakeholders the opportunity to provide feedback, but I wanted to make sure that we actually collaborate with those industry bodies and essentially try and understand what their concerns are. Now, I want this chamber to be informed. I want this chamber to understand what some of those industries and their members are going through and how some of these policies will affect them and the medium or long-term implications of them. So this is purely a targeted consultation, so to speak, and I hope the members support this.
Thank you. I now understand what you were trying to do. I apologise. If there's any other debate, Councillor Snape.
My understanding that on the amendment, my understanding is we've already been out for consultation and that industry groups and we haven't. Oh, okay. So why we directly? Why do we specifically need to?
This is a draft for consultation, as I understand it. This is not the final report, and this is not reneging on the content. This is just having extra consultation that's targeted. I'm sorry, Councillor Abrahimzadeh, have I got that correct? Yes. Councillor Giles forgot to vote, but we will have a division called by Councillor Kouros. All those in favour? A division is called.
A division has been called. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Noon, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Ho, Councillor Kouros, Councillor Lee, Councillor Siebentrip, Councillor Giles, Councillor Snape, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Davis and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
Councillor Giles, can I remind you again, we'll take the vote again. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Members?
Lord Mayor, can I ask you to put your microphone on because it's really...
I'm sorry.
I'm a bit of far away.
I apologise. We'll now move on to item 16. 16.1 is the Caterpillar Strategic Plan. Moved by Councillor Siebentrip.
I've actually have an amendment that I'd like to propose, Lord Mayor. I have an amendment that I'd like to propose.
Please tell us what it is.
I've sent it through to governance team about 10 minutes ago. Here we are. I'm happy to speak to it and the rationale behind it, Lord Mayor, if appropriate.
Can I ask if we have a seconder? Councillor Elliott, can I ask you to speak to it then? Thank you.
Certainly, Lord Mayor. I'm anticipating tonight we'll certainly approve the Caterpillar Adelaide Parklands Authority Strategic Plan, and clearly we have a board there who has significant skills advising local government and state government. One of the things I'm keen to see continued advice from them coming forward is around funding for parklands management and maintenance and how we get more meaningful funding for management and maintenance. but also how do we get greater consensus on suitable data sets to support some decision-making in relation to parklands matters. One of my observations since coming into the chamber is the amount of significant debate that we have around decisions in the parklands, and it often seems to come back to a debate around numbers. And it'd be wonderful if we could get advice from the Calatila and Adelaide Parklands Authority Board on both these matters moving into the future.
Kouros, please.
Sorry, I'm wondering if the administration can help me. Do we not have a foundation that is designed? No?
I don't think the foundation has enough money to make very much difference.
But isn't there a mechanism in which you can put money through that? I'm just putting it out. I'm just asking the question because I can't remember.
My understanding, it's a mechanism without much money in it.
But is that a mechanism that money can be put into it through?
It's not tax deductible. It's not an attractive vehicle for private donations, and it doesn't receive any money from any level of government.
Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, look, I would like to rise and speak in support of the motion with the amendment. Indeed, there is a crying need for better funding of the parklands, and the options associated with where those funds come from is a worthy subject to explore. We've long, at this council, pondered the possibility of a contribution, a greater contribution from government, particularly as government is a principal occupier of parklands and has been for some years. Additionally, Lord Mayor, may I just say how delighted I am with this strategic plan, not only because it includes the commitment to the nomination of the parklands for World Heritage listing, but there is now clearly stated in the management protection section, and I can't give you the page number because there aren't any on my copies, but it now clearly says that it is the objective of the authority, and I quote, to advocate for the progression of state heritage listing by the state government. That is a very large step forward. Were it to be state heritage listed, the parklands would have greater protection from land grabs. The only difficulty arising is, of course, it's the state doing most of the land grabbing, and therefore it's unlikely to endorse that. But that the principle is there, I think, is a huge advance on the position of this council in years gone by.
Agenda, and so it's not an amendment. Councillor Elliott, were you lifting? Yep, thank you. Lifting your arm to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Sorry, my chair just snagged on the carpet as I was trying to stand. I appreciate this amendment coming forward because I think it has two key benefits. One, that it brings Caterpillar back into the decision-shaping process and allows a more recursive relationship between council and Caterpillar to be more central to the role of actually deciding on what the best outcomes are, rather than just, here's a piece of business, yes, no, do you like it, pass it on, next item of business. It actually means that things are going back and forth, and there is a dialogue between us and our advisory bodies. So it's very important in that sense. This also means that we have better outcomes being shaped for the parklands as well, rather than just, is it an opinion piece, pass it on, happy with that. So I'm happy that this has come forward and I'm supportive of the amendment.
So unless there's a contrary view, I'll ask Councillor Siebentreut, do you want to sum up? All those in favour? Did you vote, Councillor Kouros?
I had missed what Councillor Elliott said in the argument, but in taking into account what Councillor Siebentreut said,
he was supporting.
I'll support
and
that.
all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, member. We're just reassembling our behavioural management policy and separating it from the way it was packaged before in the procedures. So it's just a repackaging exercise. Would someone move that? Moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Councillor Kouros, did you want to speak?
So there's no changes at all?
No, as I understand it, this is just dividing up the package of documents that were in the standing orders previously, separating the meeting procedures into one block and the behavioural standards into another.
I understand that, Lord Mayor, but I'm asking if there's any changes whatsoever.
I can confirm that, but I understand it's just a reorganisation, not a change.
So there hasn't been, because
through the presiding member, it is exactly the same policy that Council adopted in November 22.
Right.
So there is no change, it's just been reassembled into two documents for the ease of searching. So unless there's a contrary view, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. We'll now move on to 16.3, which is our procurement report for Q3, moved by Deputy Lord Mayor.
I have an alternative, if I may, Lord Mayor. And
it's very exciting, changing a procurement report. This is quite unconventional. I can't wait.
Just a few short words, so that after financial year there's a comma, and it reads, except for the allocation of $600,000 to the Visitor Experience Centre, which is deferred.
Excuse me, we've got a lot of zeros. Can we just, I think this is zero.
I think there's the right number there, Lord Mayor.
Is it 60,000?
600?
That's bringing on zero.
Well, at this distance it looks right.
Sorry, thank you, sorry.
For the Visitor Information Centre until after the proposed workshop for council members.
Can I just ask Mr. Sedgman if that's something that he is able to achieve? When is the workshop?
February, Lord Mayor?
Through the presiding member, there was no intent to go to market before the workshop, so that wording sits comfortably.
Sorry, Deputy Lord Mayor, it's fine.
That's all right. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
And that's seconded by Councillor Snape.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, the purpose of the alternative motion is simply that there has been a lot of discussion at Council about the project in question, and although we are talking about the expenditure of federal funds, we as a council have not yet had the opportunity to have a discussion around the business model. I have heard talk that there will be revenue of several $1 million and that will somehow offset the cost or present some income to council or AIDA. I'm not sure which. I'm not sure who bears the cost in the event of that not occurring. But I would like to see that modelling and I would like the council to have an opportunity to have that discussion before any further expenditure occurs, and I'm pleased to hear the administration say it will not inconvenience them in any way at this time.
Thank you. So this will be accepted as a variation of the motion as printed. Sorry, alternate of the motion as printed, so not an amendment. I think Councillor Kouros wanted to speak. Did you? Your arm was hovering.
I will speak to this. As administration said, I will support this, but we weren't going to do anything without having that workshop, without having these discussions. But if it pleases the Deputy Lord Mayor to have that as an amendment because he can sleep at night, I'm happy to support it.
I think
Lord
that
Mayor,
wasn't... Can I just, as a point of order...
I sleep perfectly at night.
Take a point of order on this? I think, Councillor Kouros, it wasn't apparent to me, and I think many members in the room would have been not aware of that fact. It was new information, so I don't think we need to cast any doubts on the motives of the Deputy Lord Mayor.
Lord Mayor, I just don't want to be doubling up on things. I mean, it's already in the pipeline to have those discussions and to have that detail presented to council. It was never the intent to actually go ahead with anything without having those discussions. So I just want that to be clear to our ratepayers that that wasn't the intent of this council or of administration to do that.
I think we understand it, but let's not have recriminations. Thank you. Councillor Siebentrit.
Lord Mayor, just have a question in relation to gas and bulk fuel supply, actually. So my understanding is that as a council we're committed to introducing more electric vehicles, which will ultimately result in a cost saving for council as we purchase less petrol. I'm just curious then, we've got here a commitment, as I read it, for $8.4 million over 7 years, which is equally spread 1.2 on year. Is that a commitment to spend exactly that amount over 7 years, or do we have flexibility to reduce that in the future if we need to use less?
I'll just ask advice from Mr. Philippou or Mr. Sedgman. Yeah. I'll ask advice through the CEO.
Through the Lord Mayor, my understanding is that we're tendering essentially for an accession contract, which gives us flexibility on the amount we draw. It's basically a rates-based contract based on the number of litres of fuel. We need to scope it up based on anticipated use, but I make the point we'd be focused on state government panel contracts that we can access rather than committing to an absolute level of number of litres over the 7-year period.
Thank you. In that case, is there an alternate view? Would you like to sum up, Deputy Lord Mayor, or summed up? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move on to 16.4, which is the appointment of council members to the council assessment panel. I think it will be best if we move items 1 and 2 on block together because they're procedural, and then we'll move on to nominations. Would someone move the first two? Moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by the Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour? All those against? That's 1 and 2 carried. We'll now move on to part 3, when we'll seek nominations for a council member to be a member of the council assessment panel commencing January and expiring next December. Councillor Giles? Councillor Snape? Thank you. And any other nominations?
Sorry, I didn't hear. Who did Councillor Noon nominate?
Councillor Snape.
Seconded was Councillors.
I nominated Councillor Snape and seconded by Councillor
She was seconding Councillor Snape.
Oh, right. Well, can I nominate Councillor Abraham today?
Of course you may. Unless there are any other nominations, we will move to a ballot. You have ballot papers on your desk. Feeling a bit antsy today. say that Councillor Snape won the ballot.
Could I have
Congratulations.
Could I have the amount for and against?
Councillor Abrahimzadeh had 4 votes. Thank you. Congratulations. Now we'll ask someone to move that Councillor Snape be appointed as a member of the Council Assessment Panel commencing in January and expiring December 24.
I'd like to speak against the motion.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to speak against the motion. Oh, I'm waiting for a second. Yeah, sure.
Giles.
Seconded. Can I ask if someone seconded the motion? Councillor Noon.
Look, I'm not normally done, but this council has committed to trying to increase the population of the city to 50,000 people in line with the state government's objectives. In my view, Councillor Snape seriously lacks the experience in order to perform this role correctly, and my view is that his personal views on development within the city wholly unalign with that strategic intent, and for that reason I'll be voting against him.
Lord Mayor, look, I rise to express surprise that such remarks have been made in these circumstances. It's customary in this place when people are elected by the majority that councillors accept that there has been a decision made without reflecting on the capacity or skills of any individual. All of us bring different skills to different positions on this council, and if it is the decision of the majority of councillors that an individual can perform those tasks, then I'd ask members to respect that rather than to tackle them and their personal skills and reputation.
Thank you. Councillor Kouros.
I'm very glad to hear that from Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Martin, because I wish he applied that same philosophy last term of council, when repeatedly he spoke against people that were selected for certain boards.
Councillor, can I just...
And I myself, Lord Mayor...
Councillor, can I just ask you to sit down for a moment?
No, sorry, in regards to?
I just wish to speak from the chair.
I would like to speak, and then
I know,
can I speak
I'm the
first?
presiding member. Would you mind just sitting down? This is a point
Lord
of
Mayor,
order.
can I remind you of Section 86(6)(a) of the Local Government Act?
I think that Councillor Davis needs to stop interrupting, and I think that I just wish to say, as a point of order, we do not reflect on the motives of other members, otherwise it becomes disruptive. So can I ask you to continue, but be aware that you should be courteous.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Would that same apply with Councillor Martin on the motives of the Speaker previously?
That the Deputy Lord Mayor has reflected on anyone's personality or character.
Well, I was merely stating, Lord Mayor, that I'm sorry if you took offence to that, but I was merely saying that I wish that was applied in the same way. But can I speak against...
We can't undo the past, Councillor.
No, but we can learn from it, can't we? And I've learnt many things, Lord Mayor, and I've also am speaking against the appointment of Councillor Snape to be on the Council Assessment Panel. We have repeatedly spoke on Council about skills-based boards, and Councillor Abrahimzadeh has got more skills and more experience to be able to be sitting on the Council Assessment Panel. I'm disappointed that the lack of experience that Councillor Snape will bring to the board overrides the experience that Councillor Abrahimzadeh could have brought to the Council Assessment Panel. That's merely my conversation in regards to the skill-based boards that we repeatedly always talk about.
I think that this debate is going so rapidly downhill that I hope you elevate it to another plane.
I would not normally sort of make comment, but I just want to say that I've been working quite closely with Councillor Snape on this committee over the past 9 months because I've been the deputy. I do have a lot of experience as well in this area, and I've enjoyed working with Councillor Snape, but from a governance perspective and putting on my governance hat, I really dislike people being removed from committees and boards when they've not even served 12 months. there's inconsistencies, it's disruptive. So I actually think that this is actually a really good move, and I actually will hopefully continue to work, even if I'm not the deputy, to work with Councillor Snape to assist him on this committee. And I think it aligns also with my chair position as the chair of the City Planning Committee as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Giles. Thank you, members. I think that this debate is becoming quite unpleasant, and I'm rather uncomfortable that people are reflecting on other people's experience.
As part of being on the council assessment panel, is there an opportunity for administration to go through the council bylaws with a person that's been? I'm asking.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring
so
to.
The question
I
is,
must have missed the thread.
will there be an opportunity to go through the council bylaws with, I guess in this case, Councillor Snape, who will be appointed to the council assessment panel?
I'm not sure which bylaws you're talking about, but as I understand, he's been on this committee for a year, and I'm not sure whether you're talking about the planning code or...
Bylaws.
Thank you. Through the chair, the bylaws are available and anyone is able to read them, and all council members are invited to ask questions, and the bylaws are going to be reviewed soon anyway, so council will have an opportunity to review those collectively. But in the meantime, if any council member wishes to know more about bylaws, then feel free to reach out to Mr Haridis or Mr Zalewski, and I'm sure they'd be more than helpful in sharing.
Members, a division has been called on item 16.4. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Noon, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Ho, Councillor Lee, Councillor Stephen-Tripp, Councillor Giles, Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
So we better bring Councillor Snape back in. I apologise. I now will seek nominations when he returns for the deputy. Congratulations, Councillor Snape. We're now going to seek nominations for the position of Deputy Council Member. Deputy Lord Mayor?
I'm happy to nominate Councillor Noon.
Councillor Noon has been nominated. Anybody else nominating? No? No other nominees? In that case, I'll congratulate Councillor Noon for her nomination. I know I'm going to move on for that, but I don't think we vote when there's only one nomination. But what we do have to do is vote to appoint her, in which I think we do. We don't vote when there's only one nomination. We only vote if there's more than one nomination. But what I would like to do is ask Councillor Noon if she would leave the room, because there is a remuneration for this position. If you attend a meeting as a deputy, you will be remunerated, and therefore there's an office of profit. Thank you. Councillor Noon has left the room. Now could I ask someone to move that Councillor Noon be appointed as a deputy member of the Council Assessment Panel? Moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by the Deputy Lord Mayor. I take it there's no further debate. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. A division has been called.
Members, a division has been called on item 16.4, part 4. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Ho, Councillor Lee, Councillor Stephen-Tripp, Councillor Giles, Councillor Snape, Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen-Tripp, is this a question? Because
was a question on what we've just voted on, Lord Mayor. I am confused. So we've had councillors not vote for something. What's the implication of not voting? Because if we didn't appoint someone, we then leave the deputy role vacant. Is that the implication?
Is this a point of order? Is this a point of order?
It wasn't a point of order, it was a
Councillor
question.
Davis, I don't need your help. Is this a point of order? Because then...
I'm happy for it to be a point of order.
Yes. So can I answer... somebody answer the question. Are you implying that a member did not vote? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm just seeking to clarify is we've only had one council member be nominated, and we've had councillors not support that. I'm just curious what happens if we had no support for the person to be nominated. Do we end up with no one in the deputy role? I'm just curious around the governance process.
I can't answer that. I think we'll have to take that offline. It's too hypothetical. We'll move on to 16.4. I'm sorry, it's not a point of order. 16.5, it's 17, it's not a point of order. We'll move on. Thank you, Councillor. To 17, which is the Lord Mayor's reports. As you know, the last fortnight has been dominated by a visit from Penang Island City Council. The delegation was extremely successful, and I spent a week with Mayor Dato Engineer Rajendran P. Anthony, the State Secretary Dato Brosley Bin, the Executive Councillor Hon Hing Moi Lee, councillors, heads of department and staff who gained an insight into life in Adelaide and our challenges, many of which were similar to their own. I know that many elected members and staff attended a range of events over the week. This coincided almost exactly with the 50th anniversary of our sister city relationship with Georgetown, Penang. The delegation had a jam-packed itinerary, and they visited Lot 14, the Space Centre, Samri, and even Cleland Wildlife Park. They were hosted by Her Excellency the Governor at a reception at Government House, enjoyed a tour of the Drill Corps Reference Library at Tonsley, and were hosted at a dinner at the Adelaide Festival Centre. We also held a civic reception at a celebratory dinner for the delegation at the Adelaide Town Hall, and I think most councillors attended. The Mayor and I also accompanied the Foreign Minister Penny Wong and planted a tree at Lights Vision on Montefiore Hill to commemorate the anniversary. The highlight of many delegates' visits was the tour and the lunch in the Adelaide Central Market, which they loved, and at which we were hosted in magnificent form by the Market Authority, and I thank them. Many organisations in the city were involved in the event, and everyone from the Festival Centre to the Study Adelaide organisations were involved. In addition, I'd like to particularly thank our staff who organised the event over many months and worked with staff in Penang to make it the success that it was. I also met other mayors from our surrounding council areas, the mayor from Burnside, Norwood, Walkerville, Prospect and Campbelltown. I've also been on a visit to Port Adelaide Enfield, where I met the mayor and discussed with her and her staff the management of homelessness and how we could possibly work together. I attended the State Planning Commission and discussed the GARP and also the management of the parklands and various matters to do with planning in the city. In addition, I attended the University of Adelaide's Dental Outreach Clinic at Common Ground in Light Square and an IPA event. Finally, of course, I went to Carols by Candlelight at Elder Park. I should remind you there's only 13 days left to Christmas, but we have a suite of festive activities through the city. One of our festive weekends to go, there's a Santa Council rampant on all the streets and a series of events on New Year's Eve, which I hope you enjoy. However, on behalf of the Council, I wish to just end by wishing all staff and community members a very happy Christmas and best wishes for the new year. Thank you. Would someone just move my report be received? Moved by Councillor Snape, seconded by Councillor Abrahimzadeh. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. And Councillors' reports. Item 18. Councillor Noon. Thank you for the courtesy, but I think Councillor Noon, you've got the nod.
I went to many of the Penang events, including Governor's House, and it was amazing. But I do want to say that on the 4th of December, I was a representative for the Lord Mayor for a state funeral to celebrate the life of Sergeant Jason Doig, who was killed in the line of duty. It was an incredibly emotional, well-organised service, but it reminded everybody the risks that police face every day to protect our communities.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, a personal explanation, Lord Mayor. On Wednesday, 29th of November, I was wakened at a fairly early hour by ABC Radio and asked to speak on your behalf about the previous night's council meeting in relation to mobile phones. I prefaced my comments with the words that I haven't seen the minutes, and my understanding is that things are not a great deal different. Well, Lord Mayor, having observed members leaving the chamber as frequently as they do this evening to deal with telephone messages and the like, I understand there were some substantial changes. I apologise for anyone who may have been confused by my confusion, and I explain only that there were just so many amendments, so many counter-amendments, I was truly confused. And I thank the Lord Mayor for advising me today that she will in future summarise those amendments when they occur verbally in order that we all have a better understanding of what occurs. Additionally, Lord Mayor, I also understand that a constituent was concerned that I wrongly included Grote Street in the list of main streets I cited as scheduled for upgrades when Councillor Kouros and I attended the North Adelaide Precinct Association Christmas party. The circumstances were that I reminded the gathering of this council's substantial commitment to main streets, a commitment that the previous council and the one before couldn't manage, but we have done. And I recited 4 of the 5 main streets and then confided to the meeting that I couldn't remember the 5th, whereupon a member of the audience called out Grote Street. And I think at the time I smiled and said that must be it, and continued. But it seems that somebody thought that meant that Grote Street was endorsed. I apologised if that was capable of being confused, but my memory is fading. Thankfully, I'm not losing it as quickly as I am my hair. Lord Mayor, may I also just take this opportunity, because this is my last meeting as Deputy Lord Mayor, to thank my colleagues, everyone, for the honour and the opportunity to serve as Deputy Lord Mayor. I especially want to acknowledge what a pleasure it's been working with you as Lord Mayor during this transition year for the new council. We inherited many problems, particularly from the impacts of COVID, and I think we as a team have done a great job in putting things right, echoing your media statement earlier today. If I can just have 30 seconds, Lord Mayor. Echoing your media statement today, in this first year we've managed to schedule $100 million of new capital works, including the Main Street revitalisation. And we've developed new improved policies, I think, in areas related to housing, homelessness, climate change that we considered tonight, and a strategic plan to boot. I think we can all be happy with what has been a remarkable year. And Lord Mayor, in conclusion, I again reiterate it has been a pleasure working with you, and I'm personally in awe of your capacity to be here early in the morning and to continue right through to late at night, almost 7 days a week, and to bring with it much enthusiasm and humour.
I thank you for clarifying those matters so promptly. Are there any other reports from members? Councillor Noon again, you've got another one.
I really want to take this opportunity to thank the administration in supporting the council, us as councillors, and in particular the chairs of the committees. And a special mention to Ilya, Tom, Michael and the CEO, and of course all the teams that actually report to them. They've made that whole process seamless, and it's been a pleasure working with these guys.
Thank you, Councillor. If there are no other reports, could I ask that someone move Because, I'm sorry, there's another report?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say to the current Deputy Lord Mayor, congratulations on your year in office. I think you did an exemplary job, and you hosted the delegation in an incredible way, and I thought that you did that very well, and in your absence I thought you did an excellent job acting as our Lord Mayor at that time. So congratulations. It's a big thing to be a Deputy Lord Mayor for a capital city council, and I'm sure you'll have your name up on the board for us to remember you for a long time to come.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Abrahimzadeh.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, the personal explanations that were provided by the Deputy Lord Mayor, will they be minuted in our minutes?
May I just seek advice? Yes, we can arrange for them to be minuted. It requires a vote of 2/3 majority from the floor to have those extra minutes added to our standard minutes. Not verbatim, it's just the précis. Councillor?
Can we ask the Deputy Lord Mayor if he wishes to have them minuted?
Lord Mayor, I see no reason why we should do that. In my experience on council in almost 10 years, I've not heard that request before.
Okay.
I think they should be minuted because it caused a great confusion to the public, and being at that North Adelaide Precinct Association Christmas party, there was a lot of confusion from the Grote Street Business Precinct Group in regards to that. So I think that needs to be detailed on record, especially with the fact when I tried to correct Deputy Lord Mayor, he said to me that they were in last night's papers confirming that definitely was in the pipeline. So I think we need to have that minuted.
May I make a personal
Can I just say
Lord
something
Mayor?
first, Deputy
Yes, sure.
Lord Mayor? Can I just say, sometimes, Councillor, you show a lack of grace. I think if someone apologises in full council and makes a point promptly, one should just accept the apology. It is unnecessary to really keep labouring the point. Really, you can have the minute. I'm saying having the minuted is one issue, but to keep litigating something when someone has apologised seems unnecessary.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, there was a lot of confusion and there was a disrespect to me at that night, so that's only fair for me to state.
I think I will accept his apology because I think it was heartfelt, it was an error.
Lord Mayor, can I just, a point of clarification. I did not confuse the circumstances to the point where Councillor Couros interrupted. She interrupted saying that's not true at a particular point when I was referring to the yearly allocation to main streets. I think her memory's probably not great either.
I don't think this
It's called gaslighting, Lord Mayor.
No,
That's
I don't
not
think
right.
this is productive, Councillor.
Lord Mayor, it's not helping having my colleague here saying to me, you're a liar or that's a lie.
Is it? Let's find out.
This is discourteous behaviour.
I have a motion without notice then. Why don't we...
No, I haven't given you the call. Sit down.
You don't know what my motion is?
I don't care. Sit down. I think you have to sit down and we will have an orderly meeting. It's not necessary for you to interrupt continually.
Can I move the motion without notice?
I'm chairing this meeting, and the next motion that will be moved will be to note the reports and the personal explanation, moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. I'll now ask if anybody is prepared to move that there be a recorded note in the minutes, as has been suggested, related to the personal explanation, which will not be verbatim, it will be a précis. And that's been moved by Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Is it seconded? Councillor Couros. Is there any debate on this? Councillor Siebentritt.
Just a question for the administration. Don't we already have a recording of what's been said on video anyway? I don't understand the point of this. I know they're different to the recording.
I think
but
there
a
is. The
recording.
point is that It will be recorded in writing, but I suggest that if members don't think it's necessary, they vote against this motion. It needs a 2/3 majority. So unless there's any further debate, I'll put that. All those in favour of 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have a 2/3 majority, therefore it's lost. A division has been called.
Members, a division has been called in relation to including the personal explanation from the Deputy Lord Mayor in the minutes. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Ho, Councillor Kouros, Councillor Davis and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. We will now move on to our motions on notice. 19.1, Councillor Noon.
I'm putting this motion forward as I believe Sir Barry Humphries was one of the greatest performers of our time, one of Australia's national treasures. However, he and she were so much more than this. He was a passionate champion of preservation of heritage buildings, museums, libraries and the visual arts, a collector of both contemporary art and late 19th century artists and authors. He was born in Melbourne, a satirist of suburbia. He made no secret of his love for Adelaide, and I quote, "There is something about Adelaide, they say yes to new ideas and to the kind of entertainment I love." He often said Her Majesty's Theatre was his favourite theatre in the world and launched his professional debut at the Madge back in the 50s and returned countless times, including as the Cabaret Festival Director in 2015. Bringing artists from his black book that would not have come to Adelaide. Barry Humphries had a long association with Adelaide Festival Centre, in particular a special relationship with Her Majesty's Theatre, which commenced in 1953. He stated, "People from Adelaide have always had to commute to Melbourne or Sydney to see the shows they really want. Hit shows, big shows. Now, thanks to the magnificence of the people of Adelaide, we are going to be able to have them at home. Obviously, when we have got this project completed, it is going to be a much less expensive evening for people in Adelaide because they won't have to fly to Melbourne." And I know I was one of them. It is not the first time that Sir Humphries has come to the rescue of one of Adelaide's historic venues. In 1973, he began the campaign to preserve what is the oldest surviving theatre on the Australian mainland. And a quote, "I discovered a theatre, one of the first theatres in Australia, in Adelaide. It was called the Queen's," he said. One of his quotes that is quite memorable to me is, "I want to share a little secret with you, and here's the nitty-gritty. A southern town called Adelaide is my favourite Aussie city. Adelaide was the home of Barry Humphries' favourite stage. In a recent interview, he stated, 'I have worked throughout the English-speaking world, but there is none that I hold in deep affection than this theatre, Her Majesty's Theatre, Adelaide.' That love forever edged in his fabric and was the driving force in Madge's celebrated rebuild. Sir Humphries was the driving force in its restoration. And as Douglas Gautier, the CEO of the Festival Centre, quoted, 'He had a real feel in his heart for this town, and there is a lot of him in this theatre. He was a patron of the theatre's restoration.' In 2016, he famously states, 'When I pass away, not in the immediate future, I will haunt this theatre. That is a promise, and I will be very spooky.' Obviously said in the true Dame Edna fashion. Another very spooky thing actually happened to me today. Michael Harpison, our Lord Mayor between 2003 and 2010, alerted me to the fact that on the 12th of December 2003, exactly 20 years ago to the day, maybe even the hour, as per our website and the leaderboard, the City of Adelaide gave Barry Humphries the key to the city, which is the highest honour this council can bestow on a group or individual acknowledging and recognising their outstanding contribution to the City of Adelaide. I recommend people Google his Ode to Adelaide, as it says it all. And quite frankly, we would not have Her Majesty's Theatre or the Queen's Theatre without him or her. But there is more. An article this year in the Arts newspaper read, "Bazza, Heritage Hero Buildings." How many Australians are aware that were it not for Sir Barry Humphries, the great glory of Sydney's George Street, the Queen Victoria Building, would have been now a car park? Members, I encourage you to support this motion. I would love to see Sir Barry Humphries tipping his hat to me and others as we walk past Her Majesty's Theatre, as a reminder of the legacy he left behind, not only as a performer. And I hope when one day I'm sitting in the theatre and I turn around and he or she is sitting next to me waving gladdies in my face. Through the chair, I would also like to make a slight amendment. I don't know. We actually have made here, I have spoken to administration.
Oh, yep. Deputy Lord Mayor, sorry, thank you. You also move a variation on this?
Yes, I have spoken to the administration on this. I'd just like to bring the date forward to the end of March 2024.
Yep.
Thank you.
So it's moved as varied with just the date and seconded by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Thank you. Deputy?
Oh, yes, Lord Mayor, can I just begin by acknowledging, and I do not believe it's a conflict, but I think it's important to acknowledge that I am a member of the Adelaide Festival Centre Trust, which is also advocating for that which it is proposed as investigated. Look, I endorse the comments of Councillor Noon entirely. Barry Humphries not only gave people like me enormous pleasure over the years, but he did our city proud. He was the driving force, the champion for the restoration of the Her Majesty's Theatre, and as Councillor Noon mentioned, literally rediscovered the Queen's Theatre here in the city. I think it's a life that this city should honour, and I look forward to the administration's report detailing how that might happen.
Councillor Kouros?
Just have a couple of questions, Lord Mayor. It's got here that the indicative budget to commission such artwork and is in the range of 200 to 300,000. I understand that this is a report. What's the costing involved to submit this report? Is just for ratepayers' clarification.
The costing for the report is
just
unknown.
Staff time?
Well, staff time. I think that there is great potential for the foundation to support the fundraising, from my understanding.
That will be my next question. So, the report will be provided to council in regards to this, using staff time to provide this report. However, its thought process is not for council to fund it. It will be funded through the Festival Trust and the foundation.
It's going to be worked upon. That's the point of the report.
Right. Just clarifying the pathway here. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
So unless there's an alternate view and your seconder has spoken, would you like to sum up? Or?
All I want to say is that we're investigating the collaboration here on a piece of artwork to commemorate this amazing Australian. And at this point in time, that collaboration could be in different forms. So at this point in time, we are not committing any funds, but it is a collaboration, and we will see what the report actually says, and then it will come back to council via a committee, probably in March, where we can discuss it further, debate on it, look at the budget, the whole bit, and make a decision and recommend that, or make a recommendation and make that recommendation to council. Thank you.
So we will move now as on the screen. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously, I think. Not unanimously, though. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is 19.2. Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This motion addresses the issue of short-term accommodation in the City of Adelaide. And I'm looking for a seconder for this. This year we've successfully rejigged our housing policy, our homelessness policy. We have our strategic plan. We're looking towards doing an economic plan for the city. But there's a piece of information that's missing from our consideration, and our city plan, that's difficult for us to just pull out of the hat. So I'm seeking for a research paper to be done by the administration to look at the short-term rental property market in Adelaide, because this market significantly is impacting on the availability of rental accommodation in cities all over the world, and also the affordability of rental markets all over the world. And so if we're going to properly plan the future of our city, we need to actually increase the number of people living and focus on housing affordability and rental affordability. We actually need to tackle this sector of the economy. There's Airbnb doesn't have its own website data because it tends to not run like that. Airbnb is a gig economy company, as we know, based in Ireland. But it's significantly changed since it was first established many years ago, where it was largely for people who wanted to just rent out one of their rooms, get to know someone from overseas and add a little bit of additional income into their household budget. These days, short-term accommodation is a significant investment opportunity for people and is marketed that way. So the data I've been able to get from the internet around the short-term marketing comes all from investment websites, not from the actual gig economy people themselves. So, for example, I managed to get some information which is very rough, and this is why we need the research paper, that there's roughly, according to this property investment site, which is called I can't remember, it's written down here. I'm happy to pass it on later. They're saying there's 1,788 properties in the City of Adelaide who are either Airbnb or other things, but mainly Airbnb is in the Adelaide market. Something like the occupancy rate is 66%, but that varies between November and May to down around 58% in May to 79% in November. The average daily rate's about $287.40, and sort of the average annual revenue, can I have a few minutes? The average annual revenue is around $69,500. So these properties, these properties are not only taking up available accommodation that normally before the gig economy kicked in were actually available for people to rent long term. They're also, it's interesting to know whether or not they're impacting on our visitor numbers, and also whether they're impacting on the hotel industry as well. There are other issues I think we need to look at as well as a council, and I know from discussions with constituents that I'm actually finding that a number of strata titles are starting to say we do not want any Airbnbs in our tower block because of the interruption that it is for people who own and tenant a unit. So there's a whole lot of issues I think we as a council need to get our head around. It goes to rates, it goes to planning, it goes to how do we create a city with people being able to live here and afford to live here. And so I'm asking for a report to come back on this area, because I think we know very little about it, and we need that data to be able to make good policy choices. Thank you.
I will be brief, Lord Mayor, because Councillor Giles quite eloquently made most of my points, and I commend her for putting this motion forward. It's clear for most of us who have been out walking the streets, have been out door knocking, that there is a significant amount of properties in the City of Adelaide which remain empty day to day. And yes, a large number of that would be property speculation separately to Airbnb, but we know that Airbnb does have a significant number within that number itself. So if we want to start taking ourselves seriously in regards to helping the homelessness crisis, the housing crisis, we need to not just build new properties, and that is a very strong lever and one that we are fulfilling, but we need to tackle other levers as well, including existing stock. And this is a good start at investigating one aspect of that, and because of that I certainly commend this to the Chamber and thank Councillor Giles for her foresight in this.
I will be supporting this motion, but I'm in contact with quite a lot of strata title managers, and the Airbnb, it brings a lot of visitors into a destination. There's a lot of data around this. So, and I actually think this is a great thing because we need to have more clarity around what is actually happening. But there is a lot of data around areas around Australia around Airbnb, and there is a lot of positive data as well on what it does to the economy in a positive way. So it will be interesting to see a more sort of detailed report on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kouros.
Lord Mayor, I wonder if you could help me out, if administration can help me out. I'm just reading the comment below, and it's saying here that we've had discussions, of course, in regards to this matter. It has been a concern of this council, and some of the initial research and work already undertaken addresses a high level most of the points raised by the motion. So the initial work has already been undertaken. So I'm just wanting to know, because I understand where Councillor Giles is coming from, is there more that the administration feels that they can add? Because they're saying that some information may not be available. Like, are we going down a territory which might be difficult to obtain all this information?
I think it clearly is difficult to obtain this information. We had a briefing earlier, a CEO's workshop this afternoon, where we aired these issues and the difficulty. I don't know if Mr. Sedgman wishes to retraverse it. It was a meeting this afternoon. I'm not sure that you were there.
No, I wasn't there, Lord Mayor. Sorry.
Through the CEO, through the Lord Mayor, we initiated a conversation with council members today around some options in terms of considering the rating of Airbnb properties. Through that briefing discussion, we made some further commitments about exploring further the data that might be available, and we're committed to doing that through the business plan and budget sessions, workshops through February. So we'll bring back what of this information we can to provide some contextual information for council members as they consider their rating options in the development of the 24-25 business plan and budget.
I think to answer specifically your question, not all of these items will be able to be covered off. The information may not be available and it's opaque. There are websites that can do searches, but it may be limited data, and there are issues that the administration will address in the report.
So I guess my question is that I know that administration have already done a lot of work on this. Is that as far as that, do they think they can go further with the work they've already done? Because we've already gone through this before.
Yes, I know, Councillor. They have given a commitment to respond to the specific questions they were asked this afternoon and come back in the new year. Obviously, there will be an issue with consultation and managing a rate change, and there are issues that we have to legislatively comply with. But the administration have accepted this motion, and in accepting it, they believe that they can respond to it. So I'm not quite sure where you're going with your questions.
It's just that the comment doesn't sound very accepting, but I appreciate what you've just said. Thank you.
Unless there's an alternate view, then we'll put it to the vote, unless you want to sum up. No.
I'm very confused about the problem with providing some research on an area we know nothing about. But the point I want to make is it's not just a matter of rates. There's all sorts of other policy issues that cities all over the world are dealing with in this gig economy method of providing accommodation, short-term accommodation, that could be that has been addressed in other places through regulation, through changes in ways that councils, state governments, communities, strata title groups are managing. So let's get the data and let's have a discussion is really what I'm saying.
Thank you. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Councillor Noon and Councillor Elliott, you didn't vote. Could you take the vote again? All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, members. We'll now move on to motions without notice. Councillor Davis, did you have a motion you wish to move? No, not anymore. Thank you. Any other motions without notice? We have no questions on notice. Any questions without notice? Yes, Councillor Snape.
Quick one. I've had a constituent reach out to me in regards to we had some road safety issues around St Aloysius in the city, and this was a while back, early this year, and the council has gone forward with, I think, a road safety audit and specifically a school safety audit as well, or something to that effect. I know the work is ongoing. I was just wondering if we had a timeline for getting some information back, some reports back on those items.
Do we need to take that on notice, or do we have available information?
Thank you, through the Chair. My understanding is that all those elements are getting addressed through the transport strategy work, but I will take on notice your request around the St Aloysius question, and we'll be able to provide that to you out of session.
Thank you. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yes, Lord Mayor, just one question without notice. Could the administration advise by what means the City of Adelaide's reintroduction of New Year's Eve celebrations in Elder Park will be promoted, including advertising, signage in the city and any other ways?
That's an important question because we do need to make sure everyone knows that the organisation of the event has changed. Through you, please, Mr. Haridis.
Thank you, and through the Chair, the Council will be pleased to know that advertising has commenced for this year's New Year's Eve event. This is including paid digital advertising, digital screen advertising on locations throughout the city. We also have a comprehensive radio advertising program, primarily through Mix 102.3, our media partner for the event, but also through other stations. That will be in excess of 60 specific media spots in the lead up to New Year's Eve. Council's New Year's Eve website was also launched on 1 December, and we have provided that link to council members via e-news for your reference and promotion through your channels. And currently the website sits at 6,000 views on that channel alone. Parallel with that, various social media channels, the What's On facility promoted through AIDA, are also active and live with content, and there will be, closer to the event, various media releases that will also be pushed and promoted with messages from council. Finally, Adelaide Oval, given that we share some of the physical space and content on the evening, is also doing cross-promotion of our event through their marketing outcomes, and will happily provide this summarised in an e-news to councillors post this meeting.
Just reminded me, I'm glad that you said we're doing all that, and I wouldn't mind that in writing or just in an email, because I went to the final business events Adelaide board meeting last week, and there was a report on numbers, especially around New Year's Eve with the hotels, and they're down about 30%, which is quite unusual. They're picking it up in January, but at the moment, I mean, Christmas Day is booked out, but it's that period around New Year's and New Year's Day which is dramatically reduced at this point in time. And it would be good to report to that board if on all the things we're doing.
Just a question on the New Year's Eve event for administration. Are there going to be food trucks at these events and bars and at these events? this event?
Thank you through the Chair. As Mr Haridas has indicated, we'll send out a detailed e-news which will have site maps and let you know what's happening where and what the programme is for the night.
That means a yes, there is food trucks and bars?
There always has been in the past. I'd be surprised if we didn't have them now that we're returning back to Elder Park, but that will be confirmed via e-news.
And a further question, we're going to be tracking the foot traffic during that time into the city? Yep.
So we will now move on to the exclusion clause, item 23. Now, members, there are so many disparate items. I normally move everything on block, but I think it would be appropriate if we took them individually so that we separated all the matters, because there are different reasons for confidentiality. So could I ask someone to move 24.1, which relates to a leasing matter, moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour? That's carried. Councillor Snape and Giles didn't vote. Can I ask you to vote again? All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, members. 24.2 is about an appointment to the AIDA board. Can I moved by Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Noon. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. 24.3 is an independent council assessment panel. Members, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, members. 24.4 Citizen of the Year Awards, moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by Councillor Siebentritt. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Did you not vote, Councillor Davis? Is that for or against? Can I take the vote again, please? All those for? And against? That's carried. Thank you. And the last matter was a brief update on the Capital City Committee, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Siebentritt. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. I'm sorry that was tedious. We'll move into the we're going to go back into public debate. And now I would like to seek a mover and a seconder to exclude the public. It's moved by Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Giles. And I'll take a vote. All those in favour? And those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. So that was carried unanimously. Now I'd like to ask all council employees to leave the room.